I'm not the biggest sports fan. Sure, I've been known to throw a ball around every now and then, but I've never been interested in professional leagues, players, or stats. At the same time, I've grown up playing sports video games, from Blades of Steel on the NES to modern games like the NBA 2K series. This might trigger a lot of people, but I find that the more realistic these sports games become, the less fun and memorable they tend to be. There's something to be said for the simpler, faster, oftentimes more wacky and creative arcade sports titles that allow them to not only stand out, but stand the test of time as well. With that being said, here are 10 crazy sports games currently available on Steam. And no, Rocket League isn't on the list just because it's too obvious. It's an exceptional game, but everyone already knows that. Here we go. Number 10, Super Inefficient Golf. Super Inefficient Golf is a novel concept. Your goal, like in any other game of golf, is to put the ball into the hole in as few turns as possible. However, that's where the similarities end. Take away the golf clubs and the golfers, add explosives, and now you have an idea of what kind of game this is. At the beginning of each turn, you'll rig your golf ball with up to 16 explosives. There are 4 types of explosives, color-coded and activated by a different button or key. Each one acts the same, but the idea is to position them on the ball so that they can propel it in the right direction and to detonate each color at the correct time. This can be challenging once the ball starts spinning around in the air. Super Inefficient Golf features a total of 18 holes, and sadly that's really all the game offers. If you manage to make it through all 18 holes, you've pretty much done everything. There's no multiplayer support, no map editor, no other modes at all. For the $1 I spent on the game, I played it once and got my money's worth, but I don't intend to come back to it unless more content is added. Number 9, FootLOL. FootLOL is a game I originally enjoyed on my old potato laptop back in the day. It looks like a mobile game, but don't be fooled, it is designed for mouse and keyboard and has a lot to love. It's a football or soccer game if you're American, but it plays more like a very simple real-time strategy game than a traditional sports game. Your players play for themselves. Your job is to help them win by any means necessary. You'll support your team and alter the outcome of the game by using any of the dozens of items at your disposal, including speed boosts, explosives, and even cows. The single-player campaign is long and spans 4 planets. You'll want to play through it to level up your team and unlock all of the items before jumping online, as your single-player progress carries over into multiplayer games. The only thing I don't like about the single-player campaign is that the objectives can be frustrating and make absolutely no sense at times. In many cases, it's not enough to just win a match. You'll be forced to score a certain amount of goals or let the opposing team score a certain amount of goals. You may even have to lose in order to win, which is just confounding and not fun after a while. In my opinion, the main objective should just be to win. Otherwise, FootLOL is a fun, unique take on the world's largest sport. It's far from perfect, but there's nothing else like it. It's a wacky budget title that will run on practically any system and is sure to make you smile. Number 8, Super Slam Dunk Touchdown. As the title suggests, Super Slam Dunk Touchdown takes a variety of sports including soccer, football, baseball, hockey, basketball, and roller derby, and throws them all into the same arena at once. You'll choose a team of 2 athletes from any of the 6 sports and hit the court, which features a basketball hoop, a goal and goalie, and a field goal. Each type of athlete has their own strengths and weaknesses, and each type of goal awards a different amount of points. For instance, the basketball player seems to be the slowest and weakest, but he is more adept to score baskets and dunks, which are worth more points than goals and field goals. The game allows up to 4 players competitively and cooperatively over local shared screen or Steam's Remote Play Together feature. Gameplay is simple, fast, and furious with basically a shoot button, a pass button, and a turbo button. Players constantly slam into each other in an attempt to control the ball and often get into fights. Occasionally, the audience will also get involved in a number of ways, like throwing banana peels into the court or running into the field. Personally, I found the computer AI to be either stupidly easy or impossibly difficult. For that reason, I'll save this game for an occasional multiplayer match. I enjoyed Super Slam Dunk Touchdown's charming 8-bit graphics and soundtrack, the random events, and the overall originality of the experience. However, I can't help feeling that something's missing and I just can't quite put my finger on it. Still, if you enjoy retro sports games and just want to play something different, give it a try. Number 7. Dunk Lords. Dunk Lords is probably the craziest basketball game I've ever played. It's a 2-on-2 street basketball game with an eccentric cast of characters ranging from humans to robots, aliens, animals, and more. There are no rules against fouls, so it's perfectly normal for a slam dunk to be rudely interrupted by an uppercut to the jaw. Each character has their own special attacks that can be used against other players. The alien character shoots people with lasers, the cat rolls around on a giant ball of yarn, the anthropomorphic strawberry traps people in a jar of jelly, and the list goes on and on. If beating each other up on the court wasn't interesting enough, you'll also earn money throughout each match, which can be spent between quarters to buy equipment, much like in Counter-Strike. You'll be able to purchase and equip all sorts of different items that grant special abilities and attributes, like shoes that leave a sticky trail to slow opponents, or a fan that blows people away from you. You can earn this money by shooting and scoring from areas of the court that are marked with a money icon. There are several different floor icons that change from court to court and have different effects. If you score multiple times from the mega spot, for instance, your character will temporarily become a giant unstoppable force. The single player campaign features an interesting story that goes beyond what you would expect from a basketball game. We're talking shady characters, biotechnology gone wrong, and so much more. You'll face increasingly difficult opponents in a series of different locations. Not only do the various courts offer changes in scenery, but they also offer some sort of different gameplay dynamic like moving platforms or conveyor belts. I had a hard time wrapping my head around the controls, which go against the muscle memory I've developed from many other basketball games. For this reason, I got thoroughly abused by the CPU. Luckily, you can play local co-op with a friend or competitively with up to 4 players. There's no dedicated online mode, but Steam's remote play together is perfect for this game. Number 6. Mutant Football League. Mutant Football League is a spiritual successor to EA's classic Mutant League Football. It lets you play as a team of monsters, orcs, skeletons, aliens, etc. in an extreme, hyper-violent version of American football. Everything about this game is over the top, from the action and gore to the hellish atmosphere and lowbrow potty humor. It's not the most refined football game on the market, but it definitely stands in a league of its own and is fun to play. Each team has its own perks and the different types of monsters look very cool. You'll have big, brutish defensive players and smaller, more nimble runners. Players have health meters and are often injured or even killed on the field. This could be the result of getting tackled too hard or falling victim to one of the myriad environmental traps, which are not limited to landmines and giant man-eating worms. Player deaths and injuries hardly felt like a big deal during my playtime, but they are more or less permanent in the single-player season, which carries your team's progress over several games. Anything goes in this sport unless the corrupt referee decides he doesn't like you. In that case, he'll rig the game against you and penalize you for completely nonsensical reasons. Not to worry though, you can bribe or attack the referee to bring him back to his senses. In addition to the single-player career mode, you can always jump into a quick match against up to 3 other players in either local or online multiplayer. The games are much shorter than most other football games, so it's easy to binge several matches in a row, especially with friends. The thing that really brought a smile to my face was hearing the voice of announcer Tim Kitzrow, who I immediately recognized from games like MLB Slugfest and NHL Hits.
Now here comes the punting unit. You know, punters really do know how to party, Bricks.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, I pictured that, well, maybe actually shouldn't discuss this on here. And he's got a chance for a good return here.
He always plays a hilarious straight man while accompanied by an eccentric knucklehead. Unfortunately, the monster announcers that join him in this game are just annoying. Most of their jokes fall flat and are just too repetitive. They all needed more lines. Overall, Mutant Football League is a welcomed return to the arcade football genre. It's a rarity today, and I hope to see more games like it in the future. Number 5. 100-Foot Robot Golf. 100-Foot Robot Golf lets you pilot giant mechs in a game of golf that is unlike any other. For the most part, your number of swings doesn't matter. You simply want to get your ball in the hole before your opponents, who are golfing next to you in real time. Although if this isn't your cup of tea, you can choose to play in a more traditional turn-based mode as well. Is a building in your way? Not to worry, you can simply demolish it with whatever weapons your robot is equipped with. But you better hurry and make your shots before the competition and try not to lose your ball off a cliff or in the water. To be honest, it took me a while to really get the game, but I was eventually hooked. For example, I didn't immediately realize that the voice acting was supposed to be terrible.
Oh, I hope it's that young fella, what is his name? The guy with the golf.
Eventually, I fell for all of its janky charm. This was especially true once I got past the first few chapters in the story mode and discovered the Neon Genesis Evangelion subplot. As a lifelong anime fan, this struck so many chords. There are just tons of loving nods to various anime properties, from specific robot and character designs to storylines and the overall look of the game. Yes, even the bad voice acting is part of this as well. Whether you share my love for anime or not, there's a lot to enjoy in 100-Foot Robot Golf. It's a unique and often hilarious take on the sport with an awesome B-movie story mode, customizable robots in both split-screen and online multiplayer modes. Give it a shot. Number 4. Super Blood Hockey. Super Blood Hockey is at its core a simple, fast, bloody hockey game. It really takes me back to playing Blades of Steel on the NES, but with so much more to offer. First of all, the graphics have so much character, despite being drawn in an 8-bit style. There's also a ton of depth in the game that you might not notice at first glance. Take the franchise mode for example. This mode lets you take the role of the team owner as you draft players and manage every aspect of your team throughout a season of games. Your players will likely suffer injuries, brain damage, and even die during the season, and you'll have to manage funds carefully to keep your players healthy and draft new ones when necessary. There's a lot to consider here, including diet and exercise regimens tailored to each player, which can improve stats and performance but cost extra money as well. This was all a huge surprise to me because this game really isn't advertised as a hockey management sim. At its heart, it's a quick pick up and play arcade hockey game. You can easily hop into a quick match with up to 3 other players locally or via Steam's Remote Play Together feature. Gameplay is fast and vicious, and there will be blood everywhere. After a player gets hit a number of times, a fight will break out. This becomes a team brawl of sorts, with the last man standing winning the fight for his team. The losing team will receive an injury, leaving one of the players spazzing out on the ground while spewing blood for a bit. The rest of the characters then continue to play the game, giving the winning team a temporary advantage. This is either disgusting or hilarious depending how you look at it, but with the game called Super Blood Hockey, you should know what you're getting into already. The game is hard, and it even throws this in your face during the tutorial. It basically says that games are supposed to be challenging, so get good already. New players will have a really hard time scoring any goals, as the goalies are controlled by AI and they pretty much block everything. It's tough and it's punishing, but at the end of the day, Super Blood Hockey is a great game that I keep coming back to. Number 3. Stikbold, a dodgeball adventure. Stikbold is a hilarious, charming, and zany dodgeball game that I can recommend to pretty much everyone. It has a great story mode for 1 or 2 players, which follows 2 lovable yet idiotic friends on their adventure to become dodgeball champions. Somehow this entails fighting hippies over some special honey, stealing beach toys from children, and throwing activists off an oil rig. It's crazy stuff, but it's all in good humor. The story mode itself is a lot of fun and provides replayability through optional challenges. You'll also unlock new characters to use in the game's several multiplayer modes, which support up to 4 players locally or online via Steam's Remote Play Together. The gameplay is very simple and easy to learn. You'll be dodging, diving, catching, and throwing the ball with only a couple of buttons. It's made interesting, however, by the slew of environmental factors you'll be dealing with while simultaneously watching out for the ball. Depending on the level, you might get attacked by crabs, run over by a van, or succumb to any number of other environmental hazards. Stikbold isn't a huge game. It's fairly simple, and it may not look very impressive at first. But what's there is absolutely golden, whether you enjoy the absurdity of the story or battling it out with 3 friends. It's easy to get into and hard to forget. Number 2. Kopanito All-Stars Soccer. Kopanito All-Star Soccer is probably the most fun I've ever had with a soccer game. It's fast, frantic, and just slightly silly with funny looking characters and crazy power-ups. Up to 5 players can play together locally and online, cooperatively and competitively in any of the game's modes including tournaments, leagues, and exhibition matches. Kopanito's developers marketed the game as having a skill-based focus. Everyone gets the same stats and access to the same abilities. You gain power-ups throughout each match just by playing well. These power-ups include freezing other players in close proximity, drawing the ball towards you with a magnet, teleporting up the field, and more. The game's mechanics are simple to grasp and just feel really good and balanced. Goalies do their jobs well but aren't unfairly good. The shooting system is perfect. When you go for a shot, time slows slightly, giving you a chance to aim and even put a curve on the ball, while alerting other players to try and slide into you before you can complete the kick. The back and forth tug-of-war battle for the ball never ends, with players constantly sliding into one another, stealing the ball again and again until someone scores. It's way more fun than it even should be. Kopanito All-Star Soccer is an absolute blast and should not be overlooked or dismissed by its silly appearance. It's one of the most fun arcade sports games I've ever played, especially with friends. Number 1. NBA 2K Playgrounds 2. NBA 2K Playgrounds 2 is essentially a modern-day take on NBA Jam. It's 2-on-2 street basketball where basically anything goes. You have a huge roster of all-time NBA legends caricaturized with big goofy heads and impossible special moves. Up to 4 players can play together online and offline, and the game offers a variety of modes including a season mode, exhibition games, and more. You can even create and customize your own court and players. Gameplay is fast, fluid, and highly addictive. Each player has a stamina meter that is used to perform speed boosts, slam dunks, and other special maneuvers. Your team also has a lottery meter, which is charged by pulling off moves like slam dunks and alley-oops. When the lottery meter is full, your team will be granted a random buff, such as increased speed or unlimited stamina for a short time. The game looks great. The graphics are sharp with cool glowing effects around the players and an overall shiny appearance. The different courts all have their own visual appeal, from team-specific indoor courts to outdoor locations like a sunny boardwalk or glowing urban streets. The sound is really well done also, with an original soundtrack of hip-hop beats and solid performing announcers. It should be noted that the original NBA Playgrounds is a great game as well. It's no longer available on the Steam store, but at the time of writing this, you can still find keys for the game very cheaply around the internet. The original NBA Playgrounds was not published by 2K and thus had no microtransactions. All of the players were unlocked and sometimes leveled up through card packs, think loot boxes, but these were only earned by playing the game. Once 2K got their hands on the sequel, however, things changed. Everything can still be unlocked through gameplay alone, which is its saving grace. However, they decided to make it harder to unlock things without paying more money. This led a lot of players to stick with the original, but so far it hasn't bothered me too much. Overall, the sequel is a similar but more fully featured experience than the original, with an active online player base and cross-platform multiplayer support. Regardless of which game you decide to pick up, you're sure to have a great time with the NBA Playground series. It's the most fun I've had with a basketball game since NBA Street. So there you have it, 10 crazy sports games on Steam. I'm sure there are tons of other titles that weren't on the list. What did I miss? Leave a comment and let me know. Thanks for watching.